Hello and welcome to your first Google Ads campaign, where we're going to be implementing your Google Ads profitability potential that you learned in the previous class that led you to this. If you have not watched that class, I highly suggest that you go through it. It's half an hour, super quick. In it, you will be able to discover for your business what your potential for making money is on Google Ads. And we're going to be using that forecast that you create in that class to build your first Google Ads campaign here. So anyway, I'm Tom Burns. You probably already know that by now, but let's excuse me. Let's move on to what we're going to be learning about today. So our agenda for today, just probably going to be about an hour or so long. I'm going to quickly cover the basics of how Google Ads works. That way you have kind of an understanding of how the system works. So you're not, because one of my biggest pet peeves with free tutorials out there and stuff on Google Ads is that they kind of tell you what to do, but they don't explain about why they're telling you to do that or how those individual steps are actually working under the hood. So I want to give you kind of a basic understanding of Google Ads. That way you know, as I'm telling you how to go through the steps of creating your first campaign, why it's actually, why things are working that way. So quick overview of how Google Ads works. Next, I'm going to take you through the structure of a campaign. And if you're unfamiliar with the term campaign, basically an advertising campaign, that's advertising terminology. It's basically just the all-encompassing kind of term of your ads. Your campaign has some ads in it, and your ads are obviously advertising for your business. So, excuse me, there is you create campaigns in Google Ads, and within those campaigns, you have your actual ads that people are going to click on. So, excuse me, the structure of a campaign in Google Ads is it has campaigns, ad groups, and your ads. And I'm going to guide you through each of those levels so you have a really good understanding of why it's split up that way. Because it was confusing to me at first when I very first started learning Google Ads, but once you get why, it makes a lot of sense and it helps you organizationally. So next, after we learn about the structure of the Google Ads campaign, we're going to go through the process of actually building your first campaign, where I'm going to guide you step by step in doing that. And excuse me, like I said, we'll be using kind of the forecast that you created in the previous video, so that you're basically now taking the next step in trying to achieve the profit potential that you forecasted before. Finally, the last part is I'm going to explain some further resources that I offer for just expanding your learning on Google Ads, because Google Ads is a very complex, sophisticated system, and it can be simple, but if you want to keep learning more about it, there's a lot more you can learn about it, and I have other classes and stuff that you can join. So I'll talk about that last, but first let's go into the first piece, which is how does Google Ads actually work? If you're unfamiliar with this, most people are familiar with Google, right? So let's say, and again, with the previous video where I did the forecasting, the Google Ads with the Google Ads keyword planner, my example was I was creating a forecast for a music studio that teaches lessons for various different musical instruments. So I'm going to carry over that same example in this video. So here's an example of somebody who is interested in piano lessons. They go, gosh, I want to learn the piano. I'm going to go on Google and kind of search for if there's any piano teachers in my area. Kind of like the phone book works. The phone book, Google is kind of the new phone book. Most people are now searching in Google for finding things they need to get. So basically, here's how Google Ads works. Well, here's how Google works in general. Somebody types in piano lessons, a bunch of search results come up, and within those search results, you have two different kinds of search results. There's organic listings, which means that Google shows those, basically Google will crawl through different websites that are out there, and based on the relevancy of the information found on those websites, if Google determines that website is relevant to the search, it'll show it on the search results page. That's called organic, meaning that you're not paying, that the person who has that website is not paying Google to do that, to put their search result on the search results page. And I'll get into that in a second. That's called search engine optimization, which is kind of similar to Google Ads, but it's different in a way I'll describe. But anyway, so that you have organic results and then you have paid results. The paid results are the Google Ads. So basically, if you've ever searched Google for, I'll actually show you an example here. So I'm just gonna say music lessons, and you see this up here, this top search result, which looks similar to all these ones down here. There's a little ad next to it, and that indicates this is a Google ad. This is by Skillshare. Skillshare is running Google Ads, specifically Google search ads. There's different kinds of ads, but we're not going to get into that today. So basically, Skillshare is paying for when somebody types in music lessons, they are paying for their ad to show up, or more specifically, they're paying if somebody clicks on their ad. But that's a paid search result. Down here, these are organic. You notice they don't have ad next to them, but then they're kind of mixed in with the paid ads, and they're meant to look similar. So with Google Ads, when somebody searches in Google, if your ad shows up and they click on it, they're taken to your website. And so let me go back here. Here's how it's different from search engine optimization. Remember, search engine optimization, or SEO, has to do with optimizing your website so that your website will show up in the organic search results, because there's thousands and thousands of websites out there, so you can only fit so many search results on a page in Google, right? So what search engine optimization does is you make certain changes to your website so that Google finds it more relevant to the person's search, and you're trying to make your website most relevant to different searches so that it shows up, higher up in the search results. The difference with Google Ads, which are the paid search results that pop up, is you get more control than SEO over what searches people type in, your ads will show up for. You're just paying for it. So that's the main difference, and it's usually faster. With SEO takes time, and it can be expensive. You have to pay somebody who has that knowledge of going through your website and optimizing things to make it more attractive to Google, to make your website show up on the search results page. Whereas with Google Ads, you have really tight control over. You go, okay, I want my ad to show up whenever somebody types in guitar lessons. You have a lot more control over that, and that's a lot faster. Whereas SEO is oftentimes takes more of a ramp up time. And so anyway, there's a trade-off there. But basically, with Google Ads, you choose a list of keywords that somebody might search for, that you want your ad to show up for, and you target those keywords. And then so anytime somebody searches them in Google, such as piano lessons or guitar lessons, if people are searching those, I want my music studio to show up. So I choose those keywords, I target them, and anytime somebody searches for them, my ad pops up. So how do you pay for Google Ads? What are you actually paying for? Well, you pay when somebody clicks on your ads. With most other online advertising, you're paying by the impression. So you're paying anytime your ad actually just shows up, whether or not somebody sees it, whether or not somebody clicks on it, you are paying for that impression. With Google Search, you're actually only paying if somebody clicks on your ad. So you're not paying if your ad shows up on the search results page, but they don't click on it. That's free to you. You only pay the second they actually click on your ad and are taken to your website. And you can set the price, the maximum price you're willing to pay for that click. Because obviously, if it takes, let's say you have a 5% conversion rate, meaning that 5% of the people who click on your ads become your customer. And let's say each of those clicks costs $1 on average. You're going to have to pay so much money until somebody becomes a customer and pays you money. So you need to find a cost per click limit, a maximum limit that is going to still be viable for you, still be profitable. Because if it's too high, and you have people clicking on your ads and the clicks are too expensive, you're not gonna make a profit. So that's a really nice thing about Google Ads is you don't have to pay any more per click than is actually worthwhile for you. With Google Ads, after you create your campaign, it's on average in general, the worst performance you're going to have is when you first create it, because it's a brand new campaign. The system hasn't had time to learn yet, but as time goes on, you can make small tweaks and optimizations here and there along the way, and over time, it becomes a much more um, efficient campaign, and you tend to get better results over time. You get lower costs per conversion, and you generally get more conversions. That's the ideal, and that's something that making that happen is something that I cover in one of my other classes called Google Ads Essentials, which I'll talk about later on in this class. But basically, that's kind of how it works. So yeah, because what happens is you start to when you create your campaign, you target specific keywords, and then people are searching for things, and you get to see what people are actually typing into Google that make your ads show up, and then you can get insights about, oh, I saw this thing that somebody was searching that I didn't think to target as a keyword, and then you can add that to your list of keywords. And so you're as time goes on, you're learning about what people are searching for, and you're learning about which searches people are performing that actually give you good results, and you're kind of adding that into your campaign over time, so you get better and better results. Excuse me. And eventually, your campaign is a well-oiled machine that requires fairly minimal input. That's kind of the goal here. Obviously, certain external forces may change, and that could change. Google may make an algorithm change, or there could be something that happens locally, like maybe a natural disaster that changes the demand in your product or service or whatever. But as far all other things being equal, the goal is that your campaigns get better and better over time. So that's how Google Ads works. Again, just a quick recap. You target specific keywords that you want your ads to show up for. If somebody searches for those keywords and your ad shows up, they can click on it. You are charged for that click, and then they are taken to your website, and hopefully from there they perform some kind of conversion action that is valuable to you, like giving you a call and booking, your services or buying your product online or whatever. That's how Google Ads works. Okay, next we're going to go through the structure of a campaign. There are three primary pieces to a campaign. There's the campaign. Underneath that, you have ad groups, and finally you have the ads. And basically, as you can see by this little graphic here, inside of a campaign, you have ad groups. You can have anywhere between one and as many ad groups as you want. And I'll explain what an ad group is and why it's even a thing in just a minute. And then inside each ad group, you can have ads, between one and as many ads as you want. And one thing that's important to note here is that, and I'll go into this in just a second, at each different level, campaign level, ad group level, and ad level, you have different controls or different settings that you can set. Now, it's a cascading thing. So basically, any settings that you implement at the campaign level is going to trickle down and affect the ad groups and the ads. Any settings that you set at the ad group level will affect the ads inside of it, but it will not affect the campaign. And then likewise, any settings that you set at the ad level will only affect the ads. They will not affect the ad group or the campaign. So remember, it's a cascading thing. Any changes at the ad level affect ad groups and affect ads. Any changes at the ad group level affects ads, and then any changes on the ads just affect the ads themselves. So first, what does a campaign do? Well, there is a primary purpose to a campaign, and that is to manage the overall big picture of your campaign. So in order to do that, it gives you several different options or levels of control, or I should say settings that you can control. At the campaign level, the settings, there's more than this, but for our purposes, for doing Google search ads, The things that you can control that are most important are your bid strategy, excuse me, which basically your bid strategy is it's a specific um, algorithm that you choose for your campaign that automatically sets your bids and for your cost per click. And I'm not going to go into detail in this. Again, this is something that I cover in great detail in my Google Ads Essentials class. It's not essential to learn right now because we're going to always start off building campaigns with one kind of bid strategy. But you can control which kind of bid strategy you choose. You can also excuse me, you can control your location targeting. So for local businesses, you don't want to show your ads to people outside your local area, right? So like for example, with my music studio, if I'm based in Portland, Oregon, I don't want my ads to be showing to people in New York City, because if somebody in New York City searches for piano lessons and my ad shows up and they click on it, I'm paying for that click, but obviously they are never going to actually end up taking lessons from me in Oregon. It just doesn't make any sense. So what you can do at the campaign level is you can set a radius, like a geographic radius, where you can target specific cities or even zip codes or things like that. You can get really specific about the boundaries within which you want your ads to show. And then finally, you can also control your budget. Excuse me. And your budget is basically how much money you want to spend on your campaign over a certain amount of time. Now, if you have a campaign that is kind of an ongoing one, like for example with the music studio, if I just have a general campaign running where I'm like, I'm constantly getting new customers through it, that's an ongoing campaign. There's no set end date. So for that one, I'm going to have to use a daily budget, which means I can tell Google how much money on average I want it to spend every single day. And that can be as little as $1, theoretically, although that probably wouldn't really get you any results, to, I mean, theoretically infinite amount of money, but it's also limited by how many people are actually searching. I can't spend $1 million a day if there aren't enough people searching for that and actually clicking on my ads, right? So you can choose. The important thing is you can choose it on average each day how much you want to spend. So if I have let's say I have a $300 per month budget that I can afford to spend on Google Ads, that means that I'm going to be spending $10 per day, right? I'm terrible with math in my head, I admit that. So so that's the daily budget. You can also do lifetime budgets. This is only available if you have a set start and end date for your campaign. And you might want to do this if you have like a special promotion or something going on that you want to give special attention to. So if you have like a sale that lasts for a month or for a couple weeks or something, you have a set start and a set end date. You can tell Google, I want to spend this amount of money across that campaign. I want to spend $500, and then Google will automatically spend that money mostly evenly across that set time period. Okay, so that's the campaign, and now we're going to go into ad groups, which again, you can have as many as one or as many ad groups as you want. And I'm just about to tell you what the ad group is even for. Why not just have a campaign and then have your ads within it? There's a really good reason for it. I'm going to go into that next. So what does an ad group do? Well, the purpose of an ad is to organize ads and keywords into related categories and themes. So ad groups contain your ads, but they also contain the keywords. This is where you create that list of keywords that you want to target that people are searching for. So here's an example of how you would split up ad groups. Like, how do you know how many ad groups am I supposed to have? The rule of thumb is that you want to have as many ad groups as you have different kinds of products and services. So here's an example with the music studio business. I would want to create one ad group for each different instrument that is taught at my music studio. So if I have piano lessons, I'm just going to do 3 as an example here. If I teach piano lessons, and if I teach guitar lessons, and if I teach singing lessons, I'm going to want to have one ad group for each of those things. And here's why. So I have my guitar lessons ad group. Inside that ad group, I'm going to have ads that talk about guitar lessons. They don't talk about piano lessons or singing lessons. That ad group is also going to only have keywords that relate to guitar lessons. So for example, if here's an example of how not to do it. Let's say I have my guitar lessons ad group. I would not want to have piano lesson keywords in there, because if somebody were to search piano lessons and then one of my guitar ads were to show up, either they're just not going to click on it, or if they do, then they're going to back out, and I've wasted money on that click because it's not what they were asking for. So I'm going to have my guitar lesson keywords and guitar lesson ads in my guitar lesson ad group, and likewise with piano lessons in my other ad group, and singing lessons in my last ad group. So for your business, if you offer different kinds of services or products that you can group into similar themes or categories, that's how you want to break up your ad groups. So for example, like let's just say you sell clothing or something. You sell let's say you sell men's suits. In one ad group, maybe you would have an ad group for pants, and then another ad group you would have an ad group for shoes, and then another one you would have jackets, and then maybe another one you could have full suits or something like that. So the key thing is that you want to make sure that when people are searching, they're not getting all these different kinds of things that may not be related to their search. You want to make sure if they're searching for something, that your ads that pop up are relevant to that search. So, so now what can you control at the ad group level? Remember, at the campaign level, we can control your daily budget. You can control location targeting. So that means that those things at the campaign level are going to affect your ad groups, remember? So the settings at the ad group level that you can control are the keywords. So in each individual ad group, you insert a list of keywords that you want to target. You can, at this level is where you can specify your maximum cost per click limit, which is how much you're willing to pay at most for each click. So let's say for my piano lessons ad group, let's say I'm willing to spend a maximum cost per click of $5. So that means that if there are any clicks that are going to cost more than $5, Google's not going to make my ad show up. Excuse me. Now, the reason that you can control your maximum cost per click limit at the ad group level is because, let's say, here's an example. Piano lessons, I have a maximum cost per click of $5. And then let's say for guitar lessons, my maximum cost per click is $4. And then for singing lessons is $3. Why would I want to have different maximum cost per clicks? And the reason is that for me, maybe piano lessons are the most valuable lessons that I offer. Let's say for some reason, those are the most popular, and let's say I even charge a little bit more. So I make more money off of piano lessons than I do guitar lessons, than I do vocal lessons. So I'm willing to spend a little bit more to acquire new customers, right? Whereas I'm not as willing to spend more on my guitar lessons or my vocal lessons, because they don't make me as much money. They're not as valuable to my business. So that's why you can make adjustments. And obviously, for your business, whatever products or services you offer, most likely there are going to be different products and services that are more or less profitable to you. And the ones that are more profitable, maybe you're willing to spend a little bit more money to acquire new customers for those ones. Finally, the other main thing you can control at the ad group level is audience targeting. For the purposes of Google search ads, we're not going to go into that. Audience targeting is primarily used if you're using Google display ads or even YouTube ads. But don't worry about it for now. It's just going to throw an extra variable into the mix that honestly you would hardly ever use unless you're doing some really advanced testing and stuff for Google search. I'm just letting you know that's possible at the ad group level. And then finally, as I said before, ad groups contain ads and keywords. Okay, now we're at the ad. This is the actual search result that pops up when people search, like that one that I showed you before of Skillshare. That's the ad. So at the ad ad level, the purpose is to get people to click on your link and to get them onto your website. That's the whole purpose of an ad. What you can control at the ad level is the ad copy, the actual words. You can control where it directs to. So once somebody clicks on it, they're being redirected to whatever link that you set up there to your landing page. And then finally, you can control what are called extensions, which again, extensions are a little bit more of an advanced feature that I'm not going to go over in this class right now. It's something that I cover in other classes. But basically what extensions are they're little add-ons visually to your ad that provide extra information for people, such as, let's say if they're searching for, with music lessons, somebody searches for piano lessons near me and my piano lessons ad pops up. One of the possible extensions is called a location extension. And that just means that below my search result, there's going to be a little thing, a little piece of information that shows my studio's address. That's an extension to the ad. So Google likes to use extensions. They can definitely help, but again, they're not like 100% necessary. And for our purposes today, we're not going to go into them. So now let's build your first campaign. Finally, after 25 minutes of me talking about the boring stuff, let's get to the exciting stuff. Now there's two different ways that you can go about building your campaign. Excuse me, my throat's getting dry. The first way is you can do it from scratch, meaning just that you're building everything totally from scratch. You're going to add in your keywords, all that kind of stuff. Or a better way to do it, and especially if you like what you saw in your keyword planner tool forecast that you made in the previous video, if you want to try and get those results that were forecasted, then you can actually build a campaign straight from that forecast with those same keywords that you used in that forecast. So that's what we're going to do in this. So I'm going to go over to my Google Ads account. Excuse me. And unfortunately, you're going to have to redo this. And I'm just going to go through it more quickly this time. I'm not going to go into detail about the different conversion rates and all that kind of stuff like we did before. It's not going to take us too long. So go up to Tools and Settings, go to Keyword Planner. There's one extra step in this that I didn't talk about in the previous video because it wasn't super necessary. We were just forecasting. But because we're actually creating a campaign now, you have to do this step. And it has to do with sorting your keywords into different ad groups. So open up your Keyword Planner tool, discover new keywords. And what I want you to do is basically build the same list of keywords that you did with your previous forecast. So I'm going to change my location like I did before to Portland, Oregon. Target that, save. I'm going to say music lessons. Get results. So now here's where it's a little bit different. Before, what we did was we went through, we added all these keywords into the forecast, and then obviously, you unticked some of the keywords that might have been not relevant to your business. Like in the previous video, I unchecked banjo lessons and ukulele lessons, I think. So we're going to do that same process, but instead of just adding all the keywords into one group, we're going to go through here and add them into their own related ad groups, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go click on all of the keywords that pretty much mean the same thing as just music lessons, okay? So there, guitar, music classes, music lessons near me, piano, music schools near me, that works, singing. And to shortcut this, I'm just going to search for music classes for kids, sure. Music teachers, music classes. Okay, now before you add these keywords to your plan, what you need to do is go up to here where it says New Ad Group, and I'm going to name this ad group Music Lessons General. And that's just my own name. What you name here doesn't have any significance or impact on your actual campaign. It's merely just an organizational tool. So name it something that you're going to understand at a glance. Oh, my music lessons general ad group contains all those keywords that I know relatively mean the same thing as music lessons. Create. Okay, and this broad match thing here, leave it on broad match. What this is letting you change is called a match type, which again, that's not something I'm going to cover here. I cover that again in great detail in my Google Ads Essentials class, but just you always want to start out on broad match. So click on add keywords to create plan. So now what has happened is you have created one ad group with all those related keywords in there. So now I'm going to scroll back up, and if over here you'll see, this doesn't matter. Don't worry about the refine keywords thing. You'll see this green little label here, and it says in plan saved. So that means that when you see these keywords, you already know they're in your plan. So I'm not going to worry about those anymore. So now I'm going to create a new ad group. Let's go with piano. Oops. Piano. Okay, so now I'm going to check all the keywords that have to do with piano. And again, making sure that they're actually relevant to my business. So for example, if I was doing adult only classes, I wouldn't want to check piano lessons for kids. But in this example, I do piano lessons for all ages, piano classes, beginner piano, yep, piano lessons for adults. Okay, so same thing. Click on, and it's going to have, instead of create new ad group, it's going to have the same ad group you just created. So just click on the name and then go down and create new ad group. I'm going to say piano lessons, create, get my doc out of the way, add keywords. Perfect. Now I'm just going to do a couple more. I'm going to do guitar. Guitar lessons near me, guitar classes near me, Fender guitar. Sure, I have a Fender in my imaginary business. Okay, now learning to play guitar, I'm not really sure that person is actually searching for guitar lessons. They're probably more interested, I'm just guessing. I'm trying to infer their intent here. They're probably more interested in looking at like maybe tutorials online. So I'm not going to worry about that. That may not be a very valuable keyword for me. So guitar teacher near me, that's good. Okay, again, I'm going to add these, create ad group. Sorry, my computer's a bit slow. Oh, why is this not doing it? Here we go. Guitar lessons. Create. Add keywords. Okay, let me just go through here and see what other instruments are available. I may not choose any more. Oh, here's another one. Keyboard. I'm seeing a few different keyboard ones. So that's actually basically the same thing as piano in my book. So I'm actually going to add those to my piano ad group, piano lessons ad group, add keywords. Okay, so that's good. I'm just going to go with that. You might want to do a little bit more than that, but what I'm going to do is go to my forecast. Or remember, this forecast terminology is an update that Google recently did. Yours might say something different. It might say keywords, but when you click on it, it's going to look the same as what you see on my screen here. So, got it. Oh, remember, you have to change the location targeting here. For some reason, it resets it to the United States when you go into your forecast. So I'm just going to change it back to Portland. City, target, save. And I'm also going to add back in my conversion metrics, which before it was 3.5%. And if I remember right, it was $450 value per conversion on average. You'll want to add in the numbers that you found for your business. So here's what I need to do. Oh, shoot. Let me try something. Just change this. Okay. So if you don't see any conversions or conversion value, you might need to change your cost per click limit to a higher cost per click, just so you get some data. Because if there's not a lot of people searching for it, Google's going to have a hard time finding or forecasting your data. So here's what I need to figure out. First, the most important thing is you need to know what return on ad spend number you need for your business. So obviously you're going to be factoring in not only the cost of the ads themselves, but the various expenses and stuff that are associated with selling your products and services. And you need to come up with a number that is at least break even for you. Obviously, if you're just breaking even at zero, it's not really worth your time. But figure out a number that you want. So let's say I need an ROAS of 3. So go here along the graph and find where it says 3 for me, whatever yours is. So in other words, I need to make 3 times more money than I put into. I need to make 3 times more revenue in sales as a result of my Google Ads than I spend on Google Ads. So I'm going to click on 3 on the graph where it says 3 ROAS. And in case you missed it before, I went to the ROAS portion of the graph by clicking on this drop down menu here. So now this is telling me, based on the available search volume that people are actually searching, the average cost per click, factoring in my conversion data, the 3.5% conversion rate and the $450 value per conversion, it's telling me that I'm going to make roughly $810 in additional revenue from my ads, and I'm going to spend $150 for each new customer that comes in. Now, up here, it says your plan can get 2 conversions for $270 and an $8 5% max cost per click. So once you have, once you click on your minimum ROAS. So start with your minimum. So my minimum is I need to make at least 3 times ROAS. I'd love to make more than that, but start with your minimum. So click on your minimum on the graph, and then it's going to tell you, in order to get that minimum of 3 times for me, I need to set my maximum cost per click limit at $8.05. And at that maximum cost per click, with the number of people who are going to be clicking on my ads, the forecasted number for next month, it's going to cost me $270 for that month. So if that is that's going to be your monthly budget. If your monthly budget that it's forecasting here is something that you can afford, great. But if that's too high, let's say that I can only really spend $250 a month. What you can do is you can lower your cost per click a little bit, and then to a point where it gives you a monthly spend that you can afford. So I'm just going to click on here to change my max cost per click and just try lower ones. Let's just say $750. How much does that give me? Okay, so $240. We're kind of splitting hairs here, but yeah. So if I go to $7.55 max cost per click, then it's going to probably cost me about $240. So again, find your minimum ROAS that you need. Start there. If the monthly spend that it tells you right here is affordable, then that's what you want to start with. If it's too expensive, then you can lower your maximum cost per click. You're going to make probably less in your conversions, but obviously you can't spend more than you can afford. So once you find a number that you're happy with, now you go up to here to create campaign. So now it's going to ask you to give your campaign a name. So the way that I like to name things is I have kind of my own convention. I name it, if it's just like a general ongoing customer acquisition campaign, I just name it basically, my business name with, general. And then, so I'll do that. I'll just say Tom's Music Lessons. And I'm just going to say general. If I had like a special promotion, I would name it with something that has that promotion in the name. So I know at a glance in my list of ongoing campaigns, if I have more than one, that's what that's specifically for. And then I do a space, dash space, and then I name it what whatever my objective is for that campaign. So sometimes different campaigns, you might have different objectives. So if it's, let's say if it's a YouTube campaign, maybe your primary objective is to get video views. So then I would name that, dash video views. But for my purposes here, my objective is to get conversions. I want to get people calling up my studio and booking lessons with me. So I'm going to say conversions. And that way I know, okay, this is my general customer acquisition campaign, and my objective here is to get conversions. So with this average daily budget, this recommended number, basically that is what Google is recommending to you in order to meet that, that forecasted monthly budget to get you the conversion value that you saw in your forecast here. Or if you want, you can input your own custom one. But since we already kind of decided, based on our ROAS and based on the budget we can afford to spend, I'm just going to click on recommended and then save it. Now, the cool thing is, because sometimes it comes up with this, just reload the page, it's fine. The cool thing is, because we already sorted all of our keywords from the keyword planner into their own ad groups, now we have created a new campaign and Google has automatically created those ad groups with those keywords sorted into them. The only thing we need to do at this point is to create the ads that go inside each ad group. So I'll show you how to do that when this comes up, when this finishes loading. And there's going to be a couple settings here that we want to change beforehand. Okay, so it just kind of gives you a summary here. Shows you what your forecast was. And there's the name of the campaign. I'm just going to go view campaign. For some reason, Google Ads takes forever on my computer, so I apologize for that, especially when I'm recording at the same time and all that. Okay, so I'll just kind of tell you what we're going to be doing here while this is loading up. The first thing that I want to make sure is correct is the location targeting. Remember, you can control the location targeting at the campaign level. So that's what I'm going to do here. So now I'm inside the campaign. Over on the left-hand side here, if you don't see the dark gray menu bar here, there's a little arrow. You want to click that, and that'll pop out, and it's going to show me any campaigns. So here's my campaign right here, Tom's Music Lessons General. So now that this is highlighted, that means that everything that you see over in this lighter area of the screen is going to be affecting that campaign. If I were to click on my YouTube one here, then everything that I would be doing in the light part of the screen would be affecting that campaign. So that's one thing. And the whole Google Ads interface, which can be a little confusing at first, is something that I go over in great detail in again in my Google Ads Essentials class. And it seems confusing at first, but once you get it, it's like, oh, okay, this makes so much sense. So I have my Tom's Music Lessons general conversions campaign highlighted. Underneath it, it's showing me these are the different ad groups that I added in the keyword planner. But I want to make sure I have the campaign itself selected, and I'm going to go to locations. And it should have carried over. Yep, there we go. Look at that. So Portland, Oregon, United States. Now, for some reason, when you're in the keyword planner tool, exit out of that, it doesn't give you an option to do a radius, which means like basically if you choose a certain middle point and then you can say, okay, I want a 5-mile radius around that. That's where I want my ads to be shown. For some reason in the keyword planner tool, you can only do like cities and counties and stuff like that, or countries. So if you wanted to target a specific radius, what you would do is you would click on this blue pencil icon, and then see up here where it says location and radius, you would click radius and then enter whatever address or location that you want to be the center of your radius. So I'm just going to say, let's see, Portland. Oh, well, I'm not going to do it because it's just going to give me a funky one, but that's available just so you know. But for my purposes, this is fine. I'm just going to leave it on Portland. So that's, again, I was just making sure that that was still enabled from my keyword planner. The next thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that there is a specific bid strategy being used for this new campaign. So I'm going to go to settings, and I'm not going to go into detail about why this is, but just this is the bid strategy you want to start with. It gives you the most amount of control over your costs while balancing that with best or a good performance for your conversions. So go to additional settings, and then where is it? Bidding, sorry, it's under bidding. So right now it always defaults to manual cost per click. What we want to do is we want to check this help increase conversions with enhanced cost per click. And then optimize for conversions basically just means that Google's algorithm is going to optimize the bidding, the automatic bidding, to help get you the highest number of conversions. Optimize for conversion value, don't worry about that right now. It's a little bit more of an advanced setting. That basically just means that if you have different kinds of conversions, like for example, if you're an online store and you sell, let's go with the men's suit store. Obviously, each different pair of pants and jackets and whatever is going to have a different conversion value. They're going to cost different amounts of money, and they're gonna be more or less profitable to you. So optimize for conversion value just means that Google is going to try to make your ad show up at certain searches that it believes is going to get you the most conversion value. In other words, it's going to make conversions happen that are more valuable rather than the ones that are less valuable. So, but don't worry about that. Keep it on optimized for conversions. The important part is that you check help increase conversions with enhanced cost per click, and then click on save. Everything else here, don't worry about it. If I wanted to do an end date, you would also control that here, start and end dates. You can click on that. Right now we have none, but if I had a campaign that I only wanted to go for a certain amount of time, you can click on select a date, and then a little calendar thing pops up here and you can choose that. But I'm not going to do that. I just want to keep mine running indefinitely. So now we need to create ads. So over here, make sure that your campaign is still selected here. Over here, if you click on ad groups, now it's going to show you a list of the ad groups that we created. Music lessons general, guitar lessons, piano lessons. And check this out. I'm going to click on my music lessons general ad group. And now it'll automatically go into your keywords. So see here, these are all the keywords that I checked off in the keyword planner that had to do with just the general music lessons. It has added those automatically into this ad group. Likewise, you can also navigate to your different ad groups over here. So see how music lessons general is highlighted right here. If I want to go to guitar lessons, you can click that. And then it's still gonna be under the keywords category. Now, this shows me all my guitar keywords. Same thing with piano lessons. If I click on that, we're still under the keywords category here. So it's going to show me in my piano lessons all the keywords that I selected that are in there. So now the next step, the only step really between now and starting your campaign, is creating some text ads. So I'm just going to stay in my piano lessons ad group and then go up to here where it says ads and extensions and click on that. And then it'll highlight this little ads thing. And right now we don't have any ads. We haven't created any ads yet. So what you want to do is click on this blue plus. And there's different kinds of ads, but for simplicity's sake, we're going to start with the most basic one, which let me make sure they've updated this since I've seen it last. Okay, don't worry about that. Don't do what I just did. Sorry. This is new to my eyes. Anyway, ads and extensions. Make sure the ads is selected. Create an ad, and you want to do a responsive search ad. What I was looking for before was called an expanded text ad, but Google is moving more and more towards automation, where instead of you writing the exact words that will only ever appear on the ad, now this responsive search ad is you type in a lot of different like variations that you might like to show, and then as time goes on and your ads show up and people are clicking on them, Google will choose the best headlines and the best body copy that seems to be getting you the best results and automatically inserting those. So that's what we're going to do here. And that's good. Google is trying to make things perform more efficiently for advertisers and stuff like that. So this is what we want. So here, this is our responsive search ad. This is where we're going to create the actual text that's in the ad. So up here, you've got final URL. This is where you want the ad to lead to when somebody clicks on it. So I'm just going to say tomsmusiclessons.com. That's not a real website, at least if it is, it's not my website. Display URL. This basically, so if you go to like a website where it's like tomsmusiclessons.com/piano lessons. So the display URL is basically like, it's a fake URL that you can type in. That's what shows up on your actual ad to people. That's what they're going to be seeing, even if it's different from the final URL that you typed in here. It's more so just, for example, if your actual URL is just a bunch of letters and numbers and symbols, that's not very attractive. So if you just want to make it simple, you just want people to understand, okay, I'm going to a web page that's about piano lessons, you can type that in here. So I'm just going to say tomsmusiclessons.com/piano. And just to make it the point even more clear, I'm just going to say, okay, let's say that was the actual URL that it led to. See, that's kind of a messy looking thing. So if you type in, whatever you want here, the main thing is you have to have the actual domain needs to be the same. And if you look over here on the ad preview, you can see it says tomsmusiclessons.com/piano. Nice and clean. So your headline. In a text ad, you'll see here you have headline 1, headline 2, headline 3. Google will show up to 3 headlines on the actual ad. And just to let you know, this is the mobile preview. If you click on this little computer icon here, this is what it looks like when somebody's searching on their desktop. So it's just 2 little tools so you can kind of see what people would actually be seeing when your ad shows up. So headlines are the most important piece of your ad. Everything else is kind of secondary. Because the headlines are big, they're bold, they're blue. Those are what people are going to see, and they're going to click. 99% of the time, people won't even read your body copy. It's more so about your headlines. So you want your headline to be something that's really interesting, and number 2, that is actually really relevant to what they're searching. So if this is in my piano lessons ad group, and somebody is searching for piano lessons, I wouldn't want to say something like, get a music lesson. Like, that's not really relevant. So I'm going to say, okay, people are searching for piano lessons. Let's try this. How about free piano lesson? Or why do I keep misspelling piano? Free piano lesson. That's pretty interesting. And also you'll notice here, there's a character limit. For the headlines, you can only use up to 30 characters. So sometimes you got to be creative about kind of making things short and snappy. So the reason there is a lot more new headline fields here than there are actual headlines on the ad is that this is where Google is automatically going to pick different headlines. It's kind of like picking from a pool of headlines that you create, and then it inserts them automatically into the ad, makes different combinations of them in the actual ad when it shows up for people's searches, and it's going to find, okay, over time, these certain headlines together tend to get better click-through rates, meaning people click on them more often because that seems to be resonating with people most often. So what you want to do is you just want to type in a bunch of different headline possibilities that you think might be interesting that would get people to click. So free piano lesson, start today, friendliest instructors around, locally based music studio. I'm just kind of making these up off the top of my head. Classically trained teachers. So these are all just, different variations that, like I said, Google will automatically make different combinations of 3 headlines to see which ones work the best. So I'm not going to go through and do all of them. It is best. The more you can put in there, the better. And then descriptions, here's your body copy. With descriptions, you have 2 descriptions, and each of them get 90 characters. So this is where you can be a little bit more descriptive. Let's say new to piano, or let's say something like, wish you could play piano. Wow. Like a pro. Want to impress your friends? Come to Tom's studio. And actually, don't use exclamation points. Google will not let you do things like that because it feels kind of scammy to them. Whatever. Start your lessons with a free piano lesson. Let's say with a free, no commitment. I always get confused about how many M's and how many T's are in commitment. With a no commitment free piano lesson at your today. And you'll see how it shows up in the ad preview over here. So those are all the different pieces. That's the URL, the headlines, and then the body, or rather the description. And you go save and create extensions, or you can just click on save ad. I'm not going to go over the extensions right now. Like I said, it's not super necessary. If you did that, just click skip. And now you have your first ad. And so remember, we're under the piano lessons ad group in the campaign we just created, and then under the ads over here. And this is your ad. If you want to edit the ad, if you typed in something, you go, oh shoot, I want to change that, you can click on edit, and it's going to take you right back to that screen we were just at where you can make changes or whatever. So yes, leave. Good practice, I'm just about done here, but good practice is to make, I like to make 3 different ad variations, like actual ads, not just the headlines, but the ads themselves, 3 different ads per ad group. That just gives a little bit more variety. So one thing I like to do to make that as easy on myself as possible and not just keep doing duplicate work is you check the checkbox next to the ad, click on edit, copy, and then click on that X on the right and do paste right here. And it's going to ask you, okay, which campaign do you want to paste that into? Obviously, I want to paste it back into the same ad group in the same campaign under piano lessons. Yep, done. And this is really important because it won't work if you don't do this. Click on if ad already exists in destination, create duplicate. If you don't click that and you click paste, it's not going to paste it because it just considers it a duplicate, which at first it is a duplicate, but then I'm going to go into it and make some changes. So because you already did a bunch of different headlines in that first one, I'm not going to change any of the headline variations. What I want to do for this one is maybe change just the descriptions, which again, those aren't super important. So I'm not going to actually go ahead and do that. But like I said, good practice is to do 3 different ads per ad group. So now that we've created those ads for my piano ad group, now you'd want to click on your other ad group and click on, so now I'm in my music lessons general. So now I want to create ads that talk about music lessons, and maybe you want to list the different kinds of instruments that you offer, but you wouldn't want to focus on any one specific one because people aren't searching for specific instruments, they're searching for music lessons. Likewise with my guitar lessons, I'd go and create ads that are specific to guitar lessons. And you know what? Maybe it can be as simple as copying over the ads that I just created for my piano lessons into my guitar lessons ad group, and then editing them and just swapping out anywhere I mention piano or keyboard with guitar, because if it makes sense, might as well. Don't make more work for yourself. So that is how to create your first campaign. And unless you deliberately go in here and pause things, so you can click here where it says on these green little dots and click on pause, you can do that whether at the campaign level or at the ad group. You can pause any of your ad groups, or you can pause any of your ads. That just means they won't run. So if it's green, it means that everything is good to go. Now the campaign and everything inside of it needs to go through an approval process. That will happen automatically. Google will go through the content of your campaigns, make sure that everything is up to their rules and their standards and stuff, and either it'll be approved or disapproved. In most cases, it's probably going to be approved. If it's not, if it's disapproved, you'll see under this status here, whether that's, right. So right now I'm looking at my ads. Maybe it'll see it says pending under review. If it says disapproved and you hover over it, it'll pop out with a little thing like this that gives you a reason for it. But unless you're selling something that's against their rules, like weapons or illegal drugs or something like that, most of the time it's going to be allowed. There's also some issues that you want to avoid with syntax, and just avoid, like, they don't like you to do like a bunch of exclamation points or like all caps or whatever. They want to create a really nice user experience for their users that doesn't feel scammy and stuff. So that's not too hard to get going. So at this point, if you've done all that, you don't have to do anything else. You just have to wait until Google goes through their approval process, and then just keep checking back. I believe Google will actually also send you an email that says, hey, your ad's been approved or your ad's been disapproved. Here's why. Yeah, and so if you want to go back and see your actual campaign, what you got to do is click up here on all campaigns. This will show you every campaign that you have in your account. And then also one thing to remember too, and this is part of why the interface is kind of confusing at first, I'm still in the ads category here. So if I'm under all campaigns over here and then under ads here, this is going to show you a list of all the ads in all of your campaigns. If you want to actually see your campaigns listed, you want to go up and click on your campaigns here. So that is basically how to create your first campaign using the forecast that you created in the Google Keyword Planner. So basically, pretty exciting. There's a whole lot more to Google Ads though, and I want to talk about that. So I offer a new live class. It's online. It's going to be through Zoom or Google Meets. Basically, I'm offering small groups of a live class, and this is where we go much more in depth into all the different building blocks of Google Ads, which is really important. Why? Because most people who are using Google Ads, even people who've been using it for a long time, don't really know what they're doing. And the scary part about Google Ads is that if you don't know what you're doing, you can waste so much money. Google makes it seem really simple and easy, and they're trying to make things more user-friendly for business owners and stuff. But still, it's if you don't know what you're doing, you can waste a lot of time and money. And especially if something happens, if you notice a drop-off in performance, and if your costs are rising and whatever, and you're like, okay, I don't know what to do now. I have no idea where to even look to see what could be causing that. That's something that is helped by having a basic understanding of the kind of building blocks. Because like I mentioned before, I said a few different times throughout this video, the things that I cover in my Google Ads Essentials class, stuff like match types, which are really important to understand. The bid strategies, those are really important to understand too. They're not necessary to get things going, but to kind of troubleshoot later on, or if you really want to take advantage of all the different ways you can optimize your campaigns and get even better results out of them, lower costs and higher conversions and all that kind of stuff, you need to know these essentials. And most people don't know them, and they're just kind of doing things and wasting money, or just not making as much money as they could, or spending way too much time on things when they could make it a lot easier on themselves. So what does the Google Ads Essentials class cover? It basically gives you the foundational knowledge that you need to be really successful with Google Ads. And then also not only that, so it gives you a foundational knowledge of how to start things and stuff, but also what to do after that. Because if you kind of just let Google Ads go and do its thing on its own, it may or may not do very well. And remember, like I said before, your campaigns are going to perform at their worst in general right after you create them. I'm not saying they're going to have terrible performance. They might be profitable right out the gate. It's different for every business. But if you want that constant optimization where you're making things more efficient and you're spending less to get more results, that's the kind of stuff that you can learn in this Google Ads Essentials class. It also teaches you, after you've created your campaign, Now here's the regular maintenance that you need to do. And it's not complicated. It's one of those things that's not intuitive. And once you know how to do it, you can set 15 minutes aside a week, if that, and make some small tweaks that are really simple to remember. And over time, it's kind of like adding a little bit of money into an investment, and that compound interest that builds are going to give you huge dividends in the end. It's the same kind of thing with your ongoing optimization of your Google Ads. So as I said before, this class is going to be taught live over Zoom in small groups, 5 people or so or whatever. That way, it's not just a video that's pre-recorded, but you can actually follow along and stop me and ask questions and say, hey, I didn't understand this. Can you go back and explain that to me? Or ask questions that pertain to your account and stuff like that. Excuse me. So what are we actually going to cover? Well, there's 4 different parts in the Google Ads Essentials class. Part 1 is navigating the Google Ads interface and how you can never get lost. Because as I kind of alluded to before, things can get really confusing. And there's all different kinds of things like filters and stuff to show, so if you have a lot of different ad groups or ads or campaigns, it can be kind of confusing to know where to find things quickly. And so there's all different filters available and stuff, and navigating the different panes, and it's the cascading effect and stuff. It can get a little overwhelming. So the first part is showing you exactly how the interface works. And once you grasp it, once you finally understand, okay, this is how it's laid out into its main components, and this is how I navigate to where I want to go, it makes a lot of sense. But it's just one of those things that when you're coming into it without any experience whatsoever, it's really confusing. And it took me a long time when I was first starting out. Even though it was my day job, I was using it every day, it still took me kind of a while because I didn't have anybody telling me, here's how it works. But you can skip all that frustration because I'm going to tell you how to do it. Part 2 is going to go really in depth with keywords and match types. Keywords are the foundation of your campaign. They will make or break your campaign. They're the key, no pun intended, to getting really good conversions and getting those super relevant searches that people are going to click on and become your customer. And match types is a way to categorize different keywords and give you various different levels of how tightly controlled they are as far as how many different potential searches that they're gonna capture. And it's hard to explain without going into it, but match types are really important to know, and especially because Google's been making a lot of changes and updates to the way their match types work recently, and that's really important to know and to stay up to date with how they're doing that if you want to really get the best performance out of your campaigns that you can. Part 3 is going to be conversions and bid strategies. Conversions are the lifeblood of your campaign. I know I just said keywords were, but basically the entire point of your campaign is to get conversions. Listen, clicks by themselves are completely useless. If a million people click to your website, but they don't perform some kind of valuable conversion action, if they don't actually become your customer, you're going to spend all this money on clicks and not get anything out of it. So that forecast that you made in your Google Ads profitability potential, that's only possible to achieve if you implement conversions and get conversion tracking set up. And bid strategies is basically kind of a little bit more of an advanced thing. Remember I was talking about, it's kind of an algorithm that you choose to prioritize different goals and stuff. Choosing the right bid strategy in combination with your conversion tracking is really important to getting the best results out of your campaigns that you possibly can. Because the really cool thing is that Google does a lot of the heavy lifting. It's doing a ton of things automatically under the hood, as far as trying to get you the best results and stuff. But you have to know how to tell it what you want it to do, and then kind of set it off and let it go do its thing. Finally, part 4 is what I mentioned just a few minutes ago, is that ongoing campaign optimization. Once you've built your campaign, once you have all your keywords and match types in place and your conversion tracking is working and you've picked the right bid strategy, now you're letting your campaign go And over time, it's going to start giving you a lot of data. People are going to be searching and clicking on your ads, and you're going to be able to see a lot of data about what are people actually searching for that are triggering my ads to show up. Which ones of my ads are seem more popular than the other ones? Which keywords am I targeting that are getting me more conversions and cheaper costs than other keywords? And you're going to be able to take all that information and process it in a routine that I show you how to do, maybe every week, maybe every 2 weeks. You'll be able to go through it and look at those different keywords and stuff and see, okay, make decisions about these ones are performing better. Here, I'm going to make some changes to my keywords. I'm going to exclude some keywords that I'm finding are not relevant to my business that I didn't know about before. It's a really important routine. It's very simple once you grasp it, but like I said, it's not something that is very intuitive, and there's not really anything in Google's documentation that tells you how to do this, but it's a necessary part if you want your campaigns to perform better and better over time. How long is the class? Where are you? Well, the class is about 3 hours. Like I said, it's a live class. It'll be taught likely. It's being taught over Zoom or over Google Hangouts. Google Meets now, I think it's called. Just kind of depends. Basically, what'll happen is if you're interested in enrolling in the class, you'll go to my booking page where you'll see a calendar which will show you the different available class times on dates, and you can pick one that is best for you, and that's where you'll be able to pay for the tuition and stuff too. And the other cool thing is that the class will be recorded, so that way, that'll be yours to keep after the class is over. So you can view it later because it's going to be a lot of information, and it'll help even if you're taking notes and stuff. It'll help you to have that recorded class to go back over through, and you might want to watch it a few times to kind of get everything into your head. Finally, like I said before, you can enroll in a date and time slot that works for you. Down below this video that you're watching right now, I'm going to have a link that will take you to my scheduling page, which is where you can choose the time slot and pay for the class. And then wait for it to come. And I'll send you a confirmation email as well for the time and date and the instructions on how to join and all that kind of stuff. So that is the end. We're a little bit over an hour, and I apologize for that, but that was how to create your first Google Ads campaign. Excuse me. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm glad that I could help with this, and I highly encourage you to join the Google Ads Essentials class. It is a very important thing to take if you're really interested in taking your Google Ads to the next level and really making it something that is is a significant part of bringing your business new customers and stuff. So thanks a lot. Again, I'm Tom Burns, and I hope to see you in Google Ads Essentials. Bye.